Twilight isn't that bad. You guys are just mean. I've wanted to make this video for a long time, but I've not been quite sure how to go about it. I'm gonna talk about Twilight. Yes, first of all, Twilight has flaws. This is not to say that it is perfect, that it is on par with the Titanic. It's not the best series of movies ever, but it's not as terrible as everyone says that it is, and it's actually, like, kinda good. Like, you can enjoy it. I'm gonna explain the top reasons people think that it's bad, and then debunk those reasons. I'm gonna keep score as best I can because I'm probably gonna forget that I even started this. Twilight versus the haters. One of the first arguments you hear a lot, and it's that Bella is a dull character. That is not only false, but it's slander. Bella is a great character. You guys just don't know how to read subtle facial expressions. And she wasn't a manic pixie dream girl. She didn't cater to all the men in her life, so she was undesirable to a male audience, and therefore the men writing these insightful think pieces about Twilight didn't like her. They called her dull because she didn't smile all the time. Aren't we past this? Isn't that like a whole feminist movement that like women don't have to smile? Here you go. She was leading this movement. Homegirl Bella was on top of it in 2008, and she's on top of it now. Well-rounded character. She was stubborn. She was brave almost to a fault, but still very brave, very courageous for a 17-year-old girl. Let's just go ahead and... I'm going to repeat that a lot throughout this video because I think people forget that the characters are literally teenagers. Like, they're frozen in time as immortal creatures, so they're like hundreds of years old, but they're all still like 17, 18, like their prefrontal cortex isn't developed yet, and it shows. 17-year-old girl willing to sacrifice her life for her mom, for her dad, for the love of her life, for the family of the love of her life, for really anything living and breathing. She's like, oh, I'd die for that. She has a lack of self-esteem, but she is self-confident. Does that make sense? Like, she doesn't think that she's, like, worthy of Edward's love, but she also is willing to stand up for herself. See? Because she's an interesting character. She is understanding and empathetic to literally everyone in her life, including freaking vampires who have killed human beings in the past, and she's empathetic to understand that they didn't necessarily have control over themselves, and that now they are changed. They are not the same people that they were. They are trying to be better. They don't kill humans anymore. So she understands their past, and she is forgiving and is willing to move on. And she's forgiving to Edward, who put her through living hell through books 1 and 2. Edward was like the main source of drama in books 1 and 2. Everything after that was like outside sources, but he was the main source of drama in her life, and she was still willing to forgive him for that and look past it because she saw who he was on the inside, I guess. And she also, like, cried a lot. She was very full of emotion. She was a very feeling, very soft. She was a very gentle-hearted person. In the first book, she sees that her dad had gone out early in the morning and put snow chains on her tires, and just looking at the snow chains started getting, like, teary-eyed at the idea of her dad doing that. Like, a person who, like, loves fiercely and she's a full character. And here's the other thing is, she was 17. She acted like a 17-year-old. She stuttered. She was quiet when she didn't know what to say. She was confused. She rolled her eyes. She told Edward to shut up, like, all the time, was always sassing that boy back. She contemplated hitting Edward with her car, or at least hitting his car with her car, but, like, also wanted to kind of hit him with her car. Punched a werewolf at one point. Jumped off a cliff. Might have been a suicide attempt, depending on who you ask. Was willing to fly to Italy to try to save someone who she didn't believe loved her anymore, but she still cared enough about them as a person to make sure they don't die. She was willing to save the life of the person who hurt her the most. Like, come on. And she was willing to die for her unborn child. She's willing to die for everyone, but, like, homegirl was brave and was always snarky and stubborn and knew what she wanted and would do anything she needed to do. Fight anyone she needed to fight to get what she knew she wanted and what she knew was good for her and what she knew was good for other people. See, I already forgot about this. So, Bella being a dull character, debunked. And she is a win for Twilight. People say Edward was abusive. He wasn't, okay? Was he weird and at times a little overbearing? Maybe even a little creepy, yes. But does that mean abusive? No. If Bella ever said no to something, he stopped immediately. He would not even, like, breathe in her direction if he thought she was uncomfortable. Like, yeah, he tried to scare her off in the beginning of the series because He wanted to make sure she stayed safe because he felt he was a danger to her, but she is just trying to snatch that immortal sparkling life with a rich sugar daddy, so I mean, can you blame her? So he respected her boundaries. If she ever said no to something or even was slightly uncomfortable, he was like, nope, elephant in the room. He did sneak into her room to watch her sleep. So yeah, I mean, before she knew about it, that was a little creepy. So I mean, like, I'll give y'all a point for that. But I'm not condoning this. Please no one stalk me. I live in the South. My house is filled with guns, and I know how to use them. If you think for a second that I won't shoot someone who sets foot on my property, you are wrong. He's 17, and he has a crush on a girl, and he's a vampire. He's been around for 100 years. His brain's a little warped, but he knows that it's wrong. In Midnight Sun, which is Twilight from his point of view, he recognizes that what he's doing is wrong, and he, like, hates himself for it, but he's also just endlessly fascinated by her, and, like, he never watches her get undressed or anything. He literally only comes in to watch her, like, be unconscious, and then, like, leaves. Like, he's not sitting there spying on her changing clothes or in the shower or anything, so, like, it's not as bad as it could have been. I'm not saying it was good, but I will say if Bella found out and told him to stop, that he would have stopped immediately. But she found out and she was chill with it because Homegirl's a bit of a freak. He was never manipulative. He did try to scare her away, but that wasn't manipulation. He was, in his mind, showing her his true self. He never lied to her. He was like, I'm a vampire. I could literally kill you with, like, the snap of my fingers. And she was like, please make out with me. He felt she deserved better than him because he saw himself as a monster, as a freak, as this horrible soulless demon, and he didn't want that for her. He knew that she wanted to become like him, and he wanted her to live a normal human life and save her soul or whatever. So yeah, he leaves her in New Moon. He says, you're not good for me. She repeats, I'm not good enough for you. He says, I don't want you to come with me. She says, you don't want me. So she's the one that twists his words into meaning something worse than what he said. He never told her, I don't want you. You're not good enough for me. That's what she interpreted out of his words. He was just trying to break that tie so that when he left, he hoped that she would let go of him and live a normal life. But obviously, yikes, that didn't happen. Again, he's 17. He's a 17-year-old boy trying to deal with consequences of immortality and souls and this girl who he loves but, like, has a family who is in danger all the time just by the fact that she even knows who he is, and this, like, weird gang of Italian vampires that could also kill all of them. He's 17. Give the boy a break. So when he comes back after the whole New Moon thing, he profusely apologizes over and over and over again, and, like, only ever listens to how bad he hurt her. He never sits her down and is like, you know, I was in pain too. My pain is important too. No, he disregarded his pain and only focused on hers. Does that sound like a sociopath to you? No. And then in Eclipse, when Jacob kisses her without her permission, he's not just mad at Jacob for kissing his girl. He's mad at Jacob for kissing a woman without her permission. There's a specific quote.
Edward?
If you ever touch her against her will again!
Don't do this!
She's not sure what she wants.
Don't do this!
Let me give you a clue. Wait for her to say the words.
Wait for her to say the words. That is... I mean, that wins an Oscar right there, is him saying, wait for her to say the words. Wait for consent. Edward's all about consent. And yeah, he does, like, mess with her truck so that it doesn't crank up and she can't go see Jacob. And that's wrong, but guess what? He realizes that it's wrong, admits that it's wrong, fixes her truck, and then she goes and sees Jacob whenever she wants, and then later on, he freaking drives her to go meet up with Jacob. So he's a man who sees what he's doing is wrong and is willing to change because he's like, oh, that's messed up. I shouldn't do that. I'm being overbearing. I'm being overprotective, and I'm going to stop because I'm a sane person capable of recognizing my faults, and I'm not a sociopath, and I'm not a manipulative abuser. He also doesn't get mad at Bella for making out with Jacob. Like, she literally makes out with Jacob, and he's not mad at her at all. He knows that she did that because Jacob was being manipulative and saying he was gonna get himself killed, so she, like, did it to save his life, and because she was, like, sort of in love with him, which is dumb. But Edward understands that Jacob's important to her and that she loves Jacob, whether it's brother or maybe a little bit of a romantic side to it. But he's understanding of that, and he doesn't ever get mad at her for that. Never pressures her into sex. If anything, she's the one climbing on him. And then when they finally do have sex, he leaves like a few bruises on her and then loses his freaking mind and like he cries for like a week and does not touch her for like the rest of the honeymoon. So I don't know where the author of 50 Shades of Grey got that idea that Edward was this dark sociopath into like BDSM, because that is the opposite. He wouldn't even touch homegirl if he thought that it would like inflict the slightest bit of not even pain, but just like slightly uncomfortable. Wouldn't even let her sleep with her face on his chest. He would like put a blanket there, be like, no, I don't want you to get cold. Giving Twilight 2 points for that. And whenever she finds out she's pregnant, he doesn't want her to have the baby, but does he force her to get rid of it? No, he lets her choose. Oh, I forgot to give a point for the fact that he's for like consent, so am I being biased? Maybe, I don't care. So the next argument against Twilight, Jacob's character arc. Yeah, it's terrible. You guys get a point for that. So Stephenie Meyer kind of like wrote herself into a corner with Jacob. She actually wasn't supposed to write 4 books. Her original plan was only like 2 or 3 books, but then she got a book deal to write more. So she had to like spread out her vaguely thought out idea over more books than she planned. So that's why Breaking Dawn is the weird, messed up, crazy chaos that it is. And that's also why she ruined Jacob, because I think Jacob was supposed to have a different outcome, but she was like, crap, I gotta stretch this out, so let me throw in a love triangle and then make Jacob this, like, manipulative, abusive person. If anyone in Twilight is a manipulative and abusive person, it's Jacob, okay? He wasn't in the beginning. He was a good boy, and she ruined him. Yeah, and he imprints on the baby. So the character looks. Twilight gets a point for the first movie. The blue filter was iconic. I don't care what anyone says. That was an artistic choice by our Lord and Savior Kathryn Hardwicke, and it was cool, and I liked it. And she did a lot of scenery shots and like the helicopter going over the tree when Bella and Edward are up there and all the mountains and greenery, and it was beautiful. And people forget that it was an indie movie. They didn't make this movie knowing it was going to be a blockbuster. It was literally an indie movie when they were making it. They didn't have the budget of like these big time movies, or even that they had later on. They didn't even think this would go any further than some film festival. They didn't know it was gonna be a blockbuster. It's incredible for an indie movie. So everyone in Twilight is pretty good looking, except Edward's like, he's okay in the right lighting, and Jasper has looked better, but is okay. Basically, the point goes to Carlisle. That scene when he comes walking in the door in the emergency room. Nice. In New Moon, everyone's hot. When she finds him in Italy and he's got like those freaking bags under his eyes, just like, that's like what he should have looked like. That's what you would expect a vampire to look like. So, and Bella's outfit when she's in Italy with like the green blouse and the drama of it all, of her running through the red, like the contrast of like the bright red and the anxiety she's feeling and like her dark colors and just... Oh, and in New Moon, when she's, like, going through her depressive state and the camera's, like, going around her as possibility plays, yeah, they get a point for that, too, because that was beautiful. Everyone was hot in New Moon except Jasper. Whoever put that wig on Jasper deserves jail time, so I'll give y'all a point for that. Moving on. Eclipse, everyone is still hot. I don't know why they kept changing the vampire looks. They're supposed to be, like, never changing, but they changed the most out of anybody. Kathryn Hardwicke would never. So everyone's hot except, like, Bella's wig. What was that about? Why did that look so bad? Breaking Dawn, everyone is hot again. Yeah, except Edward's hair. Don't know what was going on with that, but it's not bad enough to give you a point. It was just kind of like, why? Why'd they do my boy so dirty? They let him go out in a fizzle instead of a bang. Twilight gets a point for every soundtrack. I think everyone can agree, whether you like the movies or not, that the Twilight soundtracks, all of them, are freaking bangers. The first movie had 2 Paramore songs. So good. It was the perfect blend of indie and emo. New Moon, Rosalind by Bon Iver, and Possibility, just all of it. Eclipse was also with like the Sia thing. Good. And the Breaking Dawn Part 1. Good. Breaking Dawn Part 2. Good. Oh yeah! The vampire baseball scene in the first movie, are you kidding me? Point. Come on. Come on. They get 2 points for that. The drama of it all. Oh, and a point for like the psych out in Breaking Dawn, like the second part, where like there wasn't supposed to be a fight, and in the book there was no fight, but then you think there is a fight, and you think that, like, half the people you love die, but then it's all just, like, Alice's vision. I watched that movie years after I first read the book because I, like, dropped off the Twilight train for a while, you know, when it was, like, cool to hate it, and now I'm, cringe culture's dead, so, I watched it, like, last year for the first time, and I was shooketh. Did I already give a point for that? I don't remember, but they're getting a point for that anyway. Moving into my last point, so the reason Twilight became a hated thing and why it was popular to hate it is because it's always popular to hate things that teenage girls like. We love to hate on teenage girls for Uggs, for pumpkin spice lattes, for yoga pants. We love to hate things that teenage girls like. We don't seem to hate things teenage boys like. Fortnite? I don't know anything about it, but you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and decide that I hate it because I hear about it all the time and I'm sick of hearing about it. And I know that it's a dominantly male interest, so I'm gonna go and say I hate Fortnite. Have I ever played it? No. Do I even really know what it's about? No. Neither do any of the men who wrote think pieces on Twilight. So, a scenario of a girl with a couple Twilight posters in her room. Maybe she has like a choker with the Cullen family crest on it. She gets mocked relentlessly for being cringy and for being basic white girl, whatever. But then those same people who make fun of her are the same people who are okay with sports fans who buy crazy expensive jerseys, go to games where they like paint their entire body, like grown men painting their whole body and then screaming bloody murder at the game, and then whoever loses they like throw a riot in the street, and then they like decorate an entire room dedicated to that sports team, and then get one of those like what are they called, like fat heads, you know, those like things that stick to the wall where it's like a life-size football player. That's okay, but some girls liking a fictional story is wrong. So this should have been one of my tea videos. I'm serving some hot tea. You know why sports are okay? It's because it's predominantly male. I said it. Tea is hot. But when teenage girls do something, they really like something or are obsessed with something, then it's cringy. So, to summarize, Twilight wins. Whenever you break it down. It is not without its faults. It has plenty. It has a plethora of issues. However, it is not the worst thing. The worst thing is people still making comments in 2019 on pictures saying stuff like, still a better love story than Twilight. Like you're some kind of original comedian. Stop. You're not contributing anything. No one cares, alright? My issue with our culture is we don't let anything have any kind of flaw. If it has one flaw, then we throw the whole thing away. And you just can't do that or you'll never enjoy stuff. So let yourself enjoy things that have flaws, that might be a little cheesy, might be a little cringy, whatever. Last year, I saw Twilight was on, it was on the TV, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna watch this just for old time's sake, because I used to really love it when I was younger, and then I went through that phase where I hated it because, you know, you were supposed to. And I watched it, and I had a good time watching it. I was just, heckling the bad wigs and awkward dialogue, but then, really still enjoyed watching it, and still enjoyed watching the characters develop, and felt empathy for them whenever they were going through hardships, because I'm a human being capable of feeling empathy, unlike some of you sociopaths. So if we just let our guard down and just allow ourselves to like things and just not be embarrassed about it, I feel like we could enjoy things a lot more and not be so uptight that we can't like something because it might be problematic, which I might eventually make a whole video about why the word problematic should just be deleted from human memory ever. Let your guard down and enjoy the world of 17-year-olds being hormonal and immortal, some of them, and sparkling in the sunlight, because that's cool. That's fun. Have fun with that. Have fun watching them hate each other in the beginning because they both think that the other's out to get them, and then get all mushy when they fall in love, and then cry when he leaves Bella, not because you're a crazy teenage girl, but because you feel empathy and see how much it's hurting her. And allow that to affect you, because that's what movies are for, is to take you through a story. All the drama in Eclipse, that's just drama. It's wild. It's fun. And then they get married. Be happy when they get married, and then they go on their honeymoon, and then, you know, she finds out she's pregnant, the drama of it all, and then she gives birth to demon spawn baby. That's wild. And then you think she's dead, and Edward's, trying to save his dead wife. That's a heartbroken moment. Him, gently touching his dead wife's body, trying to revive her. That's intense, y'all. That's good. Point for Twilight, just while I'm at it. But then also the line delivery of, you named my daughter after the Loch Ness Monster? Y'all get a point for that because that was bad. But see, just like enjoy it, have fun with it, just let go of things being problematic culture. Oh yeah, the CGI baby. Y'all get a point for that. So yeah, let yourself have fun. Cringe culture is dead. Long live Twilight. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I want you to bite into the like button and suck all the blood out of it. And also subscribe, because if you subscribe, you become immortal forever. We all know that as brats, you're immortal. I'm a brat and I'm still alive, so clearly it works, and I'm not lying to you to try to get you to subscribe to me. Oh, quick announcement, I guess. I have a Patreon now. Yeah, give me your money. There are 3 tiers. First tier, you get like behind the scenes videos from things like this where like I mess up or whatever. And then also monthly live streams. Cool, I guess, if you want that. Second tier, you get those things, plus I will post my YouTube videos on there a day early, so you get a day early access to my YouTube videos before they go live on YouTube. And lastly, the third tier, you get all of that, plus, since the third tier is $10, I only keep $5 of it, and the other $5 I donate to charity. So come on. You're not just helping me get out of my parents' house, you're helping children in Nepal, or animals in the ASPCA, or some other charity I can't think of. Yeah, so that's a thing. I have officially become a YouTube douchebag. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
I put my foot in my mouth